In 2003, a heavyweight title fight took place which some still call the last great heavyweight contest. A clash of titans, and at the time, the heaviest title fight there had ever been between two juggernauts. The champion, Lennox Lewis, had systematically dismantled all other heavyweights around the world, unifying the titles, and then in 2002 sent Mike Tyson to the Shadow Realm.
You can't take that from big right hand from Lewis.
Now, Lennox Lewis is a guy you've rated among the top 5 heavyweight champs ever. You've told me and others that even at your best, you don't know if you could have handled Lennox Lewis.
He then disappeared for a year before, on just 2 weeks' notice, he'd accept a call to defend his crown against a much younger challenger on the rise.
The champion returning after a year's absence, taking on a challenger he tried everything to keep at bay.
Vitali Klitschko had 31 stoppages in 32 fights, and the youth, height and power on his side.
It's him on.
But his heart had yet to be tested.
This guy Klitschko, he's got the right hand. This is the chance of a lifetime if he's got that gleam in his eye.
All the questions and the mystery surrounding this fight only made it bigger. Returning from a year's absence, was Lewis the same man, the undisputed heavyweight champ, or was he about to throw it all away on a short notice fight against perhaps the most dangerous challenger he'd ever faced? Vitali had been calling out Lewis, and he was ready to give him what he'd been asking for. And what happened next is one of the greatest heavyweight fights of all time. The fight began with caution, both men orthodox fighters using their lead hands to probe and circle, looking for openings and feeling each other's movements. Lewis attacked first, sending out a long jab causing Vitali to pull straight backwards, and he tried chasing his exit, trying to follow the angle and put the right hand over the top. But Vitali, a master of defense, raises his lead shoulder and exits on the angle. Now more aware of how far that 84-inch reach right hand stretches over the top, but the left hook of Lewis tracked him like a homing missile, already touching the chin. The clinch would be very important in this fight as well, and Lennox showed early it was not going to be a place to rest. After Vitali's jab, Lennox chases his own, then digs an underhook with his right arm to close and clinch. Then he swaps, digging a left underhook, disguising and freeing his right hand to fire over the top. In fact, for much of the first round, Lennox was either all the way out at distance or trying to clinch and crash on the inside to wear down and work away at Vitali.
You see, when two tall guys get in the ring, it calls for a lot of clutching because nobody has room to move out of the way.
Vitali was already making reads though. Lennox fakes with his lead hand while trying to close distance. Then as he moves forward, Klitschko manages to sneak his right hand right down the middle. He was looking for ways to exploit that left hand, constantly reaching from Lewis, and it worked. But Lennox was determined to keep his clinch game working. As the jab came first from Vitali, Lennox was countering by filling the space with his own lead hand, fishing for the single collar and the clinch. The crowd was already massively into this fight, and they only turned it up as both fighters did. Lewis then started to change his game to work off countering the jab of Vitali.
Side by Vitali. And again, Lewis dancing backward.
Here's the reality. Most New Year's resolutions, those lofty goals of total self-reinvention, disappear by February. But effort binging your way to a new identity won't bring lasting change. Instead, meaningful growth comes from small, consistent habits that add up over time, like watering a plant. For me, this change has been simple. Replace bathroom scrolling time with my language learning flashcard app. Now, one change won't make me fluent, but just imagine how many extra words I'll know at the end of the year. It's a small change that'll make a big difference. It's a similar story with therapy. Rather than immediate, sweeping changes, therapy is its own simple habit, offering a framework for deeper self-understanding. That's important, because knowing yourself is half the battle towards steady, consistent growth and long-lasting well-being. And if you've considered giving therapy a try, today's trusted sponsor, BetterHelp, is here as a simple starting point for 2026. Just fill out the questionnaire, and you'll match with a therapist in as little as a couple of days. Plus, if it isn't the right fit, you can easily switch therapists at any time at no additional cost. So, if you want to join the 6 million plus who have already gotten help from BetterHelp, click the link in the description or go to betterhelp.com/modernmartialartist and get 10% off your first month of therapy.
As round 2 started though, Lewis started pumping his own jab, doubling up with full extension, pressuring and popping the head back of Vitali. And all that pressure was effective again in making Vitali fire first. As Lennox edged closer, Vitali shoots out the right hand and Lennox perfectly placed his own left hook over the top on the counter. Vitali then had to make more adjustments. He started to use his jab not to start his attacks, but to bait out the counters. And then when he found the timing of Lennox, was able to fire his right hand between the parries. Lennox though got back on the pressure, kept moving forward. His hands apart though were trying to make reads and parry, and the sniper right of Vitali was landing right down the middle of his open guard. As the crowd continued to roar, Lewis started smiling, knowing that he indeed had a fight on his hands. It was just round 2 and Klitschko was already keeping perfect distance to keep firing straight rights down the pipe.
Suddenly it looks as though Lennox may have made a fateful decision in choosing to take this fight with only 2 weeks' notice. Hard left hand by Lewis stops Klitschko in his tracks.
Then we saw some real heavyweight magic starting to happen. Vitali again leads with his jab before sending another 1-2 down the middle. Lennox tries to counter with his own hook that Vitali gets under, then Lennox's head movement slips under the counter hook from Klitschko. But here the challenger's footwork was on display. He mirrors Lennox as he circles out, jabs and then again cuts another angle, slipping the follow-up shots from Lewis and lining himself up to deliver another attack. High-level stuff and the crowd were going crazy. And Lennox looked like he was already on wobbly legs.
Lewis ducking and stumbling. They trade big right hands. Lewis gets the worst of it.
Lennox started the 3rd round as the Terminator, immediately again coming straight forward, the jab sending Vitali back. All before flicking the jab but turning it into a left hook that snuck around the parrying right hand of Vitali and thundering through another right straight. And it was that shot that also opened up a cut above Klitschko's eye. A very, very important part of this fight. Vitali's jab was long, low, precise, and consistent. It was stifling the offense from Lewis, buying time for his eye and circling for new angles of attack. But Lennox just kept coming forward. Here he showed the jab, but Vitali, leaning back, is out of range. He then shoots his own jab perfectly down the middle and again goes to circle out. And as he does, watch the right foot of Lewis, who steps all the way across, turns his hips and body to fire a big right straight that catches the slippery Vitali as he circles right into it this time.
There has never been a heavyweight championship between big men with this kind of intense action.
Lewis stayed in the pocket, reading the jabs and distance perfectly and was now looking to fire heavy counters. The cut was bad, but Vitali's speed was still there. You can barely see him throw the right hand behind the jab here as he disguises it and it smashes into Lennox one more time. But as Lewis was pushing forward, both men were swinging, already looking tired, just trying to counter each other as they both started to slow down.
Vitali back, and now a hard right hand by Klitschko stops Lewis's rush. But Lennox Lewis is into the fight now and much steadier on his feet than in the first 2 rounds.
They survived the 3rd, but Klitschko's eye was leaking blood and starting to look like a wound from a Tarantino movie. Lewis came forward again this round looking to counter over the left hand and keep landing his right on that damaged eye. And perhaps a lesser man would have quit, but Vitali stayed on his game. As Lewis parries the lead hand here, Klitschko finds the hole, immediately reshooting it and the right over the top before again masterfully hitting his angle, pumping the double jab and circling out to safety, before crashing back with more immediate counters of his own.
Both fighters very tired already. Lewis breathing with his mouth open.
Big men have a difficulty fighting at this pace.
I'm sorry, but the corner's got to take a good look at this guy's eye.
But both men were slowing down, and Lewis was starting to look really, really tired. Vitali wisely just kept touching him, staying out of range of any counter opportunities. Round 5 kicked off and it honestly wasn't clear if either man had it in the tank to go all 12, and Vitali's punch numbers started almost doubling Lennox's, but the man still had thunder in his hands. Vitali, with his hands super low, enters with his rear hand first this time, which Lennox sees, pulls, and uses his left hook this time to cup Vitali's chin and guide him into an oncoming right uppercut that lands like Thor's hammer. That shot had fans jumping out their seats.
Klitschko has done an excellent job of staying away from
Vitali kept pumping his lead hand and circling, but Lewis was reading the distance better now, slipping inside. Once again, a right lands for Vitali, but grazingly, as Lennox pulls back from a follow-up left hook that swings wide. When Vitali goes to pump the jab to stop any counters this time, Lewis reads it and smashes another massive right hand over the top. And he followed it up with 12 continuous thumps to the body. Lewis had been countering and it was working well, but now with Klitschko hurt as he initiated his jab this time, Vitali slips it perfectly and drilled back with his own right hand. And now Lewis was looking more tired than ever.
Lewis leaning against the ropes as though he's all done in.
Lennox Lewis is ready to be taken.
To some fans and the commentary team watching, it looked like one good right hand and Lennox Lewis would be on the canvas. But they made it to round 6, where the fate of the heavyweight title was finally decided. Vitali was moving backwards and slipping to the outside, but at times Lennox was able to catch him, firing the back right straight first down the middle instead of over the top of the left.
Lennox Lewis is so tired that if Klitschko just hit him with a combination, he'll go down.
But Lennox's power was still deadly. As Vitali was pressuring, using the left hand to frame and again split the guard with a big right, they fell into the clinch. And Lewis once again sneaks his left hand up and around into a single collar to guide Vitali's head once more into another massive right uppercut. I don't know what went back further, Vitali's head or everyone's drinks, as they stood up in reaction to what was a monster of an uppercut from the champion, and that right eye of Vitali was now just destroyed.
He can no longer see. He's fighting on pure heart, Klitschko is now.
With 30 seconds left in the round, Vitali was determined to keep coming forward and pushing the pace. The bell sounded with both men already near spent, a ferocious 6-round battle of heavyweight action that some media likened to Gatti Ward. But the right eye of Vitali was hopelessly damaged. Smashed apart by the power shots of Lewis, who, having taken the fight on short notice, was not prepared clearly for the pace the action had taken place. The fight was called at the halfway point, although it is hard to believe it could have gone all 12 rounds. Lennox Lewis remained the heavyweight champion, defending his title by a 6th round TKO win from a doctor's stoppage. This fight goes down in boxing history as one of the last great battles amongst heavyweights before a new era would begin, and a fight that many fans look back on as one of the what-ifs in heavyweight boxing. Vitali was ahead on the scorecards, but Lewis had been the one dishing out the more damaging shots. It would also be, poetically, the final fight of Lennox Lewis's career, retiring with the heavyweight titles, how every champ wants to retire, and it wouldn't be for another 25 years that we'd see another man achieve the same level of greatness in Alexander Usyk. And in the end, Vitali would capture his own belt. In fact, after that fight was stopped, Vitali would never lose again. And although it was his brother that would go on to achieve more in boxing, it's often said that Vitali was in fact the harder man to beat. This fight was a crossroads in heavyweight boxing history, and without a doubt, one of the greatest clashes of the last century.